All right, welcome back. It is the G-Bag Nation here on 105.3 The Fan, and it's time to talk with a special guest just 2 days following the NFL Draft. The Vice President of Player Personnel for the Dallas Cowboys, Will McClay, joining us to look back and look forward. And a good afternoon, Will. How the heck are you?
How you doing?
Oh, we're doing excellent, thank you. First question, have you guys managed to transform this into a tough and physical team now? Do you feel like that work is done?
It's never done. You're continuing to try and do that. I think that, every year and every opportunity to acquire a player, we're looking to do that. They've got to be able to play the position. They've got to fit the standard. But we're also, trying to increase that. There are questions and things that we ask to try and dig just how much dog do they have in them, and that's part of the equation and what we're looking for to add to this team.
How have things evolved with what you guys emphasize, like in Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn's tenure with this football team?
I think that for me it's changed because we're looking for good football players. Every team has a scheme, and you put players into the scheme, but the willingness to find out what a guy can do and then say that this is how I can use it and it fits into our offensive or defensive scheme. That's really all that anybody that's acquiring personnel that takes a part in it. That's all you're looking for. Someone to say that you're allowed to and you are good at hitting on the strengths and weaknesses of players, and then them being able to put them into the system. That's the most important thing. Is if you pick them, you got to use them.
Will, I know Mazi gets a lot of attention. He's your first-round pick, but I wanted to ask you about D. Overshone, who a lot of people in this area know having played at Texas, and he's a guy with a lot of position flexibility, super athletic. But when you watched him, what was your vision for him when you made that pick?
Will linebacker type. One of the things that you have to do in the NFL now is, you see the linebacker position diminishing where most people are playing, nickel, and they're bringing in extra safeties or extra cover guys. Because, people are finding matchups on linebackers. So one of the things you look for is guys that can match up athletically with tight ends or receivers, as well as his energy and his tempo and the way that he plays football. One of the things that a coach used this in the draft from when we were talking, one of our better players who was recently resigned is Donovan Wilson, and he brings an attitude to the team that you can't really quantify in height, weight, speed, or anything like that. So we're, looking for guys that do that and hunt, and so you see these things coming out in the players that we're picking, and you see our team getting bigger, stronger, faster, and more athletic.
Hey, Will, congratulations on another journey. The things that I looked at or I saw in Luke Schoonmaker. When you watch them play, they are a physical team running the football, and he's usually at the point of attack with that. I kind of feel like, though, his pass skills and his route running is underrated. Am I in the right path when I'm talking about him and what he potentially could be for you?
Yeah, that was one of the things that attracted us to him, is the fact that, number one, he played in that system, as you stated, at Michigan, where they run the football. That's part of their identity, so he is trained in that, but also really excited about what he can bring to the passing game. When you look at, the athleticism and, all of those things and how it's used, and he's got, that frame and size plus, running under 4.6 shows you his ability to potentially threaten the middle of the field, but he can also get in and out in routes. And we just feel very happy with him. While there are plenty of people who had other choices, one of the things that we felt good about was the quality of the depth of the tight ends in the draft. And so while it was a position that we were hoping to address, we weren't going to force anything, and we landed, and we feel like we've got a player that not only can block but has the ability to affect the passing game.
And the next player I was looking at as you were going through this draft was Awesome Richards from North Carolina. And, Will, I got to be honest with you about this kid. I know people have talked about him being like potentially a guard. I might leave this kid at tackle and let him go. I mean, I can tell you plenty of those games where the Clemsons and others in that ACC, this kid looks like a tremendous athlete for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible athlete. He's got length. He's got bend. We need to continue to get him stronger, but his ability to pass protect is something that's appealing as a tackle. But one of the things that I know Mike talks about a lot is wanting to move the tackles inside so you stay athletic, you stay long, you stay big in there. They've got to have the strength to anchor in there, but the versatility of some of these guys, because there's, it's tough to find, 5 quality linemen for 32 teams. And so if you build a depth and you have versatile pieces, when you have, injuries that always come, and these guys get trained the right way, you have enough depth to go out there and continue to play your style of football. So versatile players like Asim is, it's big in what we're trying to build.
Cowboys VP of Player Personnel, Will McClay, with us here in the G-Bag Nation. Now, I did want to ask you about Deuce Vaughn, right? I mean, first off, Deuce is electrifying. Pound for pound, I think he was one of the most fun studies in the entire draft. But what a unique and special situation you had in your war room with Chris Vaughn, his father. What was that like for you? But you're also getting a hell of a football player there in Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, the number one thing is, getting a hell of a football player. And in a safe game, guys that can win in space and create their own space and do explosive things. Deuce has done that ever since he's been in high school and probably before that. So getting him and adding him as a weapon was a huge deal. But the experience is one of the things that I will take with me forever. Brian's been in Super Bowl and we're trying to get there, and all these different experiences that you have in the game are what keeps us in it. And that was one of the most unique and most special situations I've ever been in because of the quality of man that Chris Vaughn is, and then the quality of young man that his son is, and to see that passion for your child, but also for doing his job and being as unbiased as he possibly could, tells you just everything you need to know about Chris Vaughn, which produced Deuce. And so we feel like that you're getting a guy that's going to overcome all odds and do whatever he can to help the football team, and nothing's beneath him, and you can't, he'll do whatever you ask him to do. And it's just, one of the scouts came back, Justin Stuckey came back after getting character information on Deuce, and he said, he came back in the office and said, boy, I hope that people talk about my kids half as good as they talk about Deuce Vaughn. So it was just a surreal moment to go through that. And in Texas we say faith, family, football in those orders, and we got a chance to experience all of that in the war room on Saturday.
Yeah, Will, when we had a chance to interview him, I said, hey, congratulations of overcoming your father as a character problem, a flaw maybe, that, your mom and all that can know. But no, it's a great family. You're absolutely. And again, thank you for allowing us, the scouts, to come visit us with us on the draft. I was going to ask you about about Mazi Smith. You made a very passionate, and I'm not going to say a speech. You gave, Jerry Jones asked you your thought on the player, and you gave your thought on the player. Talk about that and what the purpose of that particular talk at that moment, what you felt like you had to do to get that done.
In every draft room, you go through these moments where there's players that are there and they're up on your draft board for a reason. You like them. But when it comes time to make a pick, Jerry, I talked to the scouts about it. We are the lawyers presenting the case. What I wanted to do at that point in time is present the case with, I was asked a pointed question of who I thought was better. I wanted to try and gather all my thoughts quickly and say the reason why I felt like Mazi was the guy for us at that time. And with great power comes great responsibility, and I feel very fortunate to have the responsibility that I have and that we have as a scouting department. And so when it was not only my work and my thoughts, but to those guys that really believed in the player. Brett Maxey brought him to us early. I remember watching him in November, and I don't typically start watching college tape until November or December. I go through our season, but I tend to kind of hit guys on like, hey, who are the top 3 or 4 guys in your area? And I start watching tape, or I'll look for measurables, and I'll pull some tape and just start watching that without any influence from anybody in the room or whatever, not looking at grades or anything. So I went down and, there was Mazi, and as we were going through it, and at the end of the season when we lost Carlos Watkins in the San Francisco game, and before that when we had lost Hankins for the 3 or 4 games, and I look at all of the things that we have, and I just thought that we do this thing called Across the Hall, and it's when the coaches and the scouts get together. The scouts tell the coaches about how they do their job. The coaches tell the scouts what they're looking for. When that whole thing in my mind, I'm going, okay, there's this guy, and Mazi just kept coming up. So when I was asked that question, I got to talk about a player that I believed in for us within that situation as we were talking about it.
Do you see Tyler Smith playing tackle? And if so, what's your vision for left guard?
That's a puzzle that will be continued to be figured out because we have talented people there. And what we want to try and do is get our best 5, and that's what training camp is for. That's what OTAs are for and all those things. It's easy to say it should be this, but you want to go through it. We have a new offensive line coach. We're doing things new offensively, so it's an opportunity to start fresh and put the best 5 on the field. One thing I will know that Tyler should and will be in that best 5.
I was surprised you guys didn't come out with another offensive lineman, Will, before a pick 169 anyway, a higher one. What gives you confidence to not add another player higher up?
Well, we've drafted people. We've seen guys develop. We signed Chuma Adoga in free agency, we just feel like the development of that group is continuing to grow, and you can't pour all of your resources into the offensive line. But if you have quality people and you have young guys that are continuing to grow, college football is not played like the NFL. So when you draft a kid out of college, there's going to be growing pains. But you want to pick the guys with the traits and with the mental fortitude and the ability to continue to grow. Everybody doesn't have all 5 first-round picks on the offensive line. So it's those guys that come in that are willing to put in the work, that are willing to learn from these stages. We got a lot of young guys that we have invested in, and it's their time to shine, and it's their opportunity to shine. We'll continue to try and add to that, but there's also other holes and places and things that we need to do for our roster.
VP of Player Personnel for your Dallas Cowboys, Will McClay. You're the best. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, guys.